vertical live stream, because apparently those are things that YouTube pushes or whatever. So not as good as the other ones. I'm doing it through my phone, so we'll see. But basically what this is going to be carrying and cleaning weapons, because as you know, I do lots of weapon testing, and I do a lot of stuff as well with you know, different items and things like bone and what have you. So it's like I tend to try to clean the weapons relatively frequently, especially if I do something that's a little more rigorous, like testing them against watermelons. Not testing against, but using watermelons is like a way to kind of create a very cinematic set piece or something like that. So this is just going to be caring for them. As you obviously know, if you follow this channel, you know, if you have something that's a carbon steel or a high carbon steel, what's up guys? It's going to need a lot of maintenance and care to make sure it does not rust or things like that. So it's really going to be important to ensure that a long lifespan for it, because if it's a hobby or something you enjoy, you want to make sure you really take care of your stuff. So what I tend to do is I usually tend to simply just clean it first. So I'll wash it down. Usually you can use like a REM oil or something like that that you use for any sort of, greetings guys, any sort of firearm or something like that, just to clean off any additional residue. And then I always seal it with a wax after that. So this is the spatha. So I used this a little bit in the Roman one recently, didn't do it too much. And so, what's up man, how you doing? What's up my DM? So that's this one here. So I use the spatha a little bit for the Roman one, and then I also use the new Gladius as well. So it's just gonna be caring for those. And this one here, this is the nice one I have from Albion I got a long time ago. Oh, thanks man for sharing the live. Oh, thanks, sorry, ma'am, for sharing the live. And so in addition to that, this does have a wooden handle. So I use some kind of wood sealant as well afterwards to make sure that I get a nice seal on there as well, because I want to try and make sure that that piece stays well taken care of as well. So this is the wooden handle there as well. And so those will definitely, you know, get broken down over time. And so I want to make sure that if I'm using these things, I'm making sure that I'm taking care of them, because you don't want to have to constantly get new swords and new armor with with as much as it goes, because arrows are one thing, right? Arrows are expensive and whatnot, but that's kind of like a war of attrition. The arrows are going to break sometime sooner or later. It's just the way it's going to go. But swords, if you care for them very well, it doesn't mean they need to fall apart. So the most recent video, I want to talk to that a little bit about that as well. I had a lot of fun with the yes, a good linseed oil is great as well. Sometimes I just use like a sealer also, depending on what I want to do or what I'm trying to accomplish to get that. And then I have one out here too, and I wanted to go over it and talk to you a little bit about how to manage basically a lot of the wear and tear that'll happen if you leave something out. So this was a throwing axe I left out. It got buried in the hay. I didn't know it was out there. So if you ever have something like this that's incredibly rusted like that, you can't just peel it off. And so maybe I'll make a little short video about it or something, but the best way to manage something like this is you're gonna go ahead and you generally just take some sort of white wine vinegar and you wrap it up with that, with towels over top of it, leave it there for about 10 minutes. And once you do that, it starts to dissolve and break away all that rust. And so once that's gone, then you can start to clean it and care for it. Because if I just tried to clean this, nothing would happen. So that's just gonna be really trying to care and take care of the weapons you have over time and everything like that. So the Roman one was really fun though. I had a great time doing that video. Like, you know, as always, it's like that quasi-fitness, quasi-historical thing as well. And so, oh my gosh, young kids, young children are here with the 6, 7. I am a father of 3, the oldest one being 8. And so apparently that's just a thing that people say because it's from a song. And so even the kids don't know what it means. It's just like a catchphrase. I don't know. I don't get it, but who cares? Who cares? I may need to block this person to get that going, because that's not enjoyable. Let's see here. Can I block you, my friend? I'm going to leave you. Okay. I'm going to remove you. There we go. Let's see. See if that works. Bye. Okay, there we go. So that was this was the newest one that I got. So this one is well cared for. I didn't use it too much because this is the one that was extremely expensive, let's say, over time. I had long enough. I know, right? Seriously. What is with the 6.7? I don't think anyone really knows. So this is the newest toy that I got for that one. This is a Gladius, so you can see this one here is substantially shorter than the Spatha, but wider. It has a much more tapered thrusting point as well. This is better for slashing, used from horseback and cavalry. This was much more of the quintessential frontline legionary type of weapon. So I use this quite a bit as well, and so it's going to kind of be something that I'd like to try and maintain and clean as time goes on. Oh my gosh. Oh, am I a Ninja Turtle? What on earth does that mean? Okay, so maybe vertical live streams are not all they're cracked up to be, because this doesn't happen on the other ones. Oh my goodness. Adventure party, what type of wizard would you want to bring in the group? Okay, so adventure type with a wizard. I would want a healing mage, honestly. I think if I'm going to go that route, I think I'm able to kind of work well with the group, and if I were to keep the skills that I have currently or presently, if I were going to a adventure, I would want someone who could heal, because I'll probably, just the way that I fight, I tend to take damage. Like if you saw the fights with Dequitum and everything as well, I tend to go ahead and I get I tend to take damage as I try to get in close. So I think it would be very important to try and get in there and manage that way. So healing would be good, and then maybe like a chaos magician as well, just to bring that little variable, that unexpected thing as well. So this is just going to be a little quick video. I was going to clean my weapons anyways, and as I was out here, just figured I would do that. Kids are down. My wife is out with some friends tonight, and so this was going to be my nightly routine anyways, and I just figured I might as well hop on and do that as well. So once you get it looking good, it's simple. Just polish it down, because these will rust for sure. Anything that's high carbon, anything, high carbon is anything that's carbon is anything over 1045. Do you need to go live too? I just want to play guitar some nights. I have no idea, man. I honestly don't know. This is all YouTube. I just kind of take it as it comes. I don't have any real set idea of how things are set up or what's needed. I just kind of jumped on not too long ago, rolled with it, and then I just was like, hey, you can do live now, or you can do this now, and everything like that. So I think maybe 10,000, but I have no idea. So anyways, any looking to add to your Arsenal dash? You've already got quite a few. Yes, I do. Okay, so the next thing that I'm getting, and I've been really fortunate to work with Cult of Athena, and you can see there, this being polished and then waxed down, so it's going to be much better. And so that way you can put it in scabbard over time, and it's not going to, it's not going to be something that's going to rust. Because I put swords in their scabbards before, if you don't wax them and you just clean them, and they tend to rust quite a bit. So you really need to watch out for that. But the next thing that I'm doing, and it's interesting too, because I try to not go too heavy into the sword stuff, because as you saw, if you know much about me, I'm not formally trained in it, right? When I fought with Dequitum, I just used a poleaxe because I knew where my strengths were. So I have some decent understanding of edge alignment and things like that, but I don't like to try and convey it as in like I'm a master and expert. But I felt like it was about time that I get something Scottish. So I'm getting the more traditional claymore, the two-handed claymore, as well as with a dirk. So I really want to use a claymore and a dirk to do something about that, like the gallows glass. They tended to use the larger two-handed swords, so I think that's a really cool, subculture of warrior that's not super well talked about. And so the gallows glass are really cool. I did a video about that like a while ago, but that's when I was still learning a lot. And so that's the one that I really want to do. And so that's the next weapons I'm getting. I'm getting a large claymore and a dirk. So that's the other thing. And then the next thing that I'm getting is from another armorer, or a blacksmith rather, and he's kind of building up a company, and he was kind enough to reach out to me, and he's going to he's going to be sending me a large two-handed Dane axe, which is going to be absolutely perfect for Trollo, because Trollo is just, he needs a larger axe, because the one that he has it's a great axe, but it doesn't have quite the same shock value as a large two-handed axe. So that's the one thing I really want to do, and what I want to try and do with that and what I'm working on. And maybe you guys can help me if you're on the Discord. You can kind of start a conversation with that. But I'm trying to test out. It talked about, I think in the 1100s, there was a battle with the House Carls. And they were like the Vikings or the Norse, let's say, and they had large two-handed Dane axes. And there were stories of them being able to basically chop off the head of a horse with a single swipe. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and see if I can replicate that. So I'm trying to build out basically a model of that to test and see how that would work, in reality. So that one I'm extremely excited about. So the Dane axe is going to be great, because that's just something I've always wanted to have as well. And so it's going to be really cool. Joe Gibbs, no word on that. That's something that I honestly feel as if he's down for. Honestly, he reached out to me, and we've chatted a little bit here and there. And he still has his master's archery courses, I think every month or so out there. And so I feel that would just be a matter of travel. That's of course something I would pay my own way to go out there and manage. So it's just a big expense, and it's a time thing too, because with 3 kids and they're all in school right now and everything, taking time to go off to England and shoot bows is amazing, but it's also something that is really a large commitment in time. So I need to try and parse that out, but I think it'd be something I'd love to do one day. Some barrel rolls, so I can show me your favorite item in the collection. So the favorite item in the collection probably is, it's the bows, right? So you can see some of them behind me. So I think that one there, that's the 175 pound, and then I have the 135 at 28 recurve, and then some of the other ones are boxed up right there. So it's all, it's all going to be the bows, 100%. I love the swords and the weapons and everything, but that's been my first love for sure. And then up there, I don't know if you can see it, I got my slings up there as well. So that's the shepherd slings. And then I have one that's a wool sling that's really cool that someone made for me, who specializes in that. They're an excellent slinger, and he sent that to me. So it's really, really cool. Those little things that are like gifts, I say, are some of my favorite. This here was actually a gift from someone as well, this sax. And that's like the most novel thing to me, just getting something like that from someone who is going out of their way to send me something to test or to use. Where'd they go? That kind of adds that value to it, where I really enjoy that quite a bit. So those tend to be my favorite things, because it's like a communal thing as well. But at the moment, right now, and if you guys aren't up with it for the D&D, I know those are more niche. So I think everyone who's probably on the live is probably in on those. But I think my favorite thing right now that I have is a follower or a friend of mine at this point, Justin, made me these minis of all my characters for the D&D series. So this is Grumpalt, the the DM, and I have Trollo here, who's the dual-wielding Viking character. And so I had a couple people. One person actually created them on Hero Forge, and then he went ahead and he painted those and sent those to me. So I was astounded by like the generosity of his time to do that. So it was incredibly cool, and I was very honored to have received those. It was just out of the kindness of his heart, So those are really cool life experiences for me, just because it's people that are enjoying the content, enjoying the nerdiness and the goofiness, and having fun with this. And then of course I have Grond here, which, unironically, is probably one of my favorite weapons to use, because It's just so incredibly unwieldy and oversized. It almost reminds me of like the Witch King's weapon. And so it's just absolutely devastating when you use it. Would you use it well in combat? It'd be difficult to, but if you got a good hit, it would be amazing. Who wins your characters? Yes, yeah. No, no, no. My characters wouldn't stand a chance against. I mean, I think Aragorn would wipe them all out by himself, or Legolas for that matter. Legolas. So, and I'm going to say that is by far, I wouldn't have a shot there at all. So that is going to be a non-issue if my characters for D&D fought any of the Lord of the Ring Fellowship. I don't even think they take Frodo, honestly. What about just the hobbits? Okay, we might have some okay with hobbits. You know, nobody who live stream here does that. Do you interact with your audience? Nobody here. What do you mean? Like, do I talk with them? So if you haven't done a live stream with me, I guess I usually tend not to do vertical live streams, but the whole point of this is I come out here with just a task in mind where I try to do something I would normally do, i.e. cleaning weapons, and then I just use it as an opening for a conversation point to talk with people and answer any questions that they may have. So it's not something that is like probably doesn't have a long shelf life, I'd imagine, because if you're not here in it, you don't get to see the questions that are asked and the conversations that's there. But if you go ahead and you ask me anything, that's the goal. That's the whole point, is to interact with people in a different way. I use Discord often to communicate with people a little bit more than just the YouTube in itself, but this is a good way just to chat with people, and I've actually got some really good ideas here as well from people who are just on the live stream where they gave me the idea to do the D&D campaign with my characters, and so that's how that entire thing started. I think it was Valkyrie Studios actually. She said you should do a D&D campaign with your character. I was like, that's a brilliant idea. And so obviously those are extremely time consuming to do because I'm playing like 6 characters. But yes, there you are. Yes, it was you. But they're the most fun thing to do and my favorite thing to try and work, you know. And so let me see. How did I acquire my spears? So most of the spears that I've got are from Cult of Athena. That's where I work with, I guess, in a way. They are an affiliate of mine, but they have been more generous than I could have possibly hoped for or imagined, because they gave me a link and they've been very kind just to send me things based on what I want to do. And so it's like I really wanted to do the most recent video, which was the Roman fitness video. And I was like, hey, I really want the Roman entrenching tool and a Gladius. And they're like, great, we'll send it out to you next week. And then I told them I really want to do something with like the Gallowglass or the Scottish clans, and I sent them what they want. And then they were like, great, we'll meet on Tuesday, we'll discuss that, and we'll probably have that out to you next week. So that's where I get most of those items. I did have one person who has an Etsy shop very kindly send me a spear as well. And so, oh, thanks, man, I appreciate that. That's always, sorry. Getting anything on this is always awkward to me. I don't know what to say, but like, very much appreciated. You're awesome. Thank you. It's very generous. It's, you know, anyways. When I did one video which was talking about with $5 million, yes, there you go. I want to paint D&D portraits of all my characters in D&D games. I actually met someone the other day. So if you guys don't know, I'm actually a real estate agent when I'm not doing this. And I met this really cool couple the other day, and they actually had a portrait. He's an artist, and he did a portrait of all the D&D characters of like his longest campaign. And it was just such a cool idea, a way to like immortalize it and everything. And so that's a really great idea. I think especially with your crew and everything, that's a great way to do that as well. So we go ahead and enjoy that. These shorts this is a weird vertical live stream. You get a lot more spam comments, don't you? What's up, guys? So that's going to be there we go. So this one here was really messed up from the previous one when I did the watermelons, and so just needed some care. And so this one should be good for a little bit longer as well. Oh. And then this one doesn't need too much care. This is the Warhammer. These things are super sturdy. They don't need a lot of a lot of maintenance and care because it's just wood and like a not overly sharp, heavy projectile in the back. So it's going to be a good one to take care of as well. Yeah. Okay. And so, Viking? No. No. I did do that silly little thing with Dequetum where we did the stereotypical berserker fight. And that was so funny to me too, because so many people got bent out of shape about. It was mainly on the shorts, obviously, because shorts are where you get a lot of interesting individuals. But it was like a lot of people were like, "That's not a berserker," and it's like, "Yeah, no, that's Trollo. That's the character. He's the embodiment of all the cliches of what people perceive Vikings to be, So that was funny. I think that just the things that people get bent out of shape about is very funny on this platform overall. Where the Why would I have those on a live stream? That's for Sergeant Alpha Bro. And if you don't know, Sergeant Alpha Bro is the embodiment of all the Alpha Bros that you run into on YouTube as well. And he's got the guns, but I don't really use those for YouTube because that's not really my shtick. I'll leave those to guys like Administrative Results and everything like that. So he's a friend of mine, and that's his shtick. That's certainly not my shtick whatsoever. I like the old school stuff, slings, shepherd slings, bows, arrows, spears, anything pre-gunpowder generally, Do you read Zen and Archery? No, I wouldn't say so. I would say that overall, I don't have necessarily a huge practice where I say this is the way I do archery, and I kind of control my breathing in a specific way. When it's the heavy bows, like the ones back there, like the 175 or the 160-pound bows, things like that, it's more just like a huge struggle to bring it down. And then it's an instant release, so I don't have time to really focus as much as where it's going. It's purely instinct, just letting it go as quickly as humanly possible. No, I have a recurve right there. You can see that's a 135 at 28-inch Despot made by MR Bows. So that thing's incredibly fast, incredibly powerful, and that's the one that I use occasionally out there. My main love is the English longbows. For some reason, I don't know if it's just the look or it's the first thing I learned on, but that's the ones that I tend to really spend the most time with, just because I have that history with it and everything. Back in the day, it was fun, group setting. So, oh, no problem. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And I was gonna say I didn't finish my thought. And if you're just joining in for this live stream, this is a disjointed mental exercise where I'm responding to things. I forget to completely finish a story, and then I jump on to another point because someone says something else. So I'm kind of like a squirrel. But I did a video that was Spear is king of the weapons, and I kind of talked there on the guy who sent me that. He has a shop on Etsy. He made that spear specifically, so he has more custom type spears. I have a link for him in that video. So if you want something a little more specific for that, then that's going to be the guy to go to as well. And he's a smaller shop too, so I love to help out smaller craftsmen as well, trying to get that out. I figured out throw steady shots. Oh, nice. Yeah, those. Oh, you figure out how hard it was to throw those steady shots. Yeah, the sling, by far, of all the things I've learned, the sling is incredibly frustrating. And even for me too. Like, obviously, when I post videos, those are the shots that hit the target and make a good shot and a good impact. But there's days when it's just not clicking, and there's a lot of misses. It's not something that I can say, like, if you took me out and then said, okay, I want you to hit this bucket 10 out of 10 times, that's probably not going to happen. It's something that I work with a lot and try to do well, but even it's like extremely difficult to get that done well and be as consistent as possible right there. Welcome to Narnia, yeah. Yes, this is a time loop here. In this page, it's very, very anti anything current topics or trends or anything. It's just literally just goofiness and silliness and some historical testing and stuff like that. It's it's my favorite thing. I try to be as blank a slate as possible, just to keep it fun for everyone to engage with and not delve into anything where people may have a strong opinion one way or another, unless apparently it's the way that they dress up like a Viking, which is a joke, but people just didn't quite get it. You make those? No, I don't make all of these. The things that I make for myself, I make my arrows for the bows, because those are difficult to get because they're such high poundage bows that to get an arrow that can manage, or a spine that can manage a 160-pound bow, it's not something that's in high demand overall. So those I have to make on my own. A lot of these weapons, I've been very fortunate enough to get where people have been able to send them to me. I had a little collection on my own, but I usually use ash for those. So if I'm making an arrow, an ash arrow is a good one. Port Orford cedar is a good one as well. And then if you want to splice it, a lot of times you can use oak to splice in the front, because oak is a much denser wood. And so if you put oak in the front, it's stronger, but if you make an entire arrow out of oak, it's not going to work incredibly well because it's not going to have enough flex or bend. And so that one's going to be a little more difficult to do. So I tend not to use just oak because they don't work well. And as long as you get a straight grain, that's the other thing, is you don't want to just get like a wooden dowel from like Home Depot or something, because the grains on those tend to move at like a 45-degree angle. You want your wood grain to be completely straight, so they move a certain way, in a correct way. And so those are it. I made a video about making arrows way in the past, so long ago. I probably need to do one again soon, but that's something I haven't done for a while. As far as the tips, someone just asked that. The tips I don't make. I don't have a forge. I'm not a blacksmith. So those are things that I get from Cultivatina, and they have the really heavy-duty bodkin tips, which are my favorite to use. So the bodkin tips are great, and for the type of impact and testing that I do, I like to use those the most. And so, like these ones here, I've used in the past. So you have like your leaf-shaped arrow, and these ones are good, but they tend to break if you hit a hard target. So if I'm doing soft testing for soft target stuff like that, I'll use these. Then you have barbed arrows as well, and that's going to look like this. These are especially nasty looking arrows. That's a really severe barb. And so the barbed arrows are really great for testing against human analog targets to see how you can get them out and all that, but they don't work well against hard targets as well, obviously. And then you have your bodkin tips here, which are the long tapered tips, the points, and those are for punching through mail, for plate. Either go a little bit into plate, not super deep and everything like that, but they'll work really well. Do you bow hunt? No. I don't hunt. I don't really have the time for it. Hunting's something that would be fun down the road, but it's just a long commitment of time. And for me, it's more just like the historical fun of it than the actual act of hunting as well. And so I tend not to do that. I don't make time to do that. It's all just like if I have free time, it's doing something with the family, and then if I have a little bit of a slot of time, then I try to make a little video and things like that periodically when I'm not working and stuff like that. So it's not a good time in life for that. I got a bunch of little kids, or 3 boys rather, and so they take up a fair amount of my day. If anyone has kids out there, you know that basically 90% of your day is like, chauffeuring. Do I hunt orcs? Yes. If there were orcs that existed, I would probably hunt an orc. And if you guys remember these are gauntlets that I got from Dequitum. These are hardened steel. And so just like anything as well, if it's a hardened steel, they tend to rust a lot. So these are things that I manage as well. And so I try to take care of these as much as possible, even if I haven't been wearing them for a long time, just to put a coat of it over that makes it so you don't have to constantly worry about it getting rusted over time as well. From New Zealand, oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. New Zealand's amazing. I went there not long ago with my wife. We went to Christchurch. We went to both islands. I saw that little Lord of the Rings place, but it was absolutely beautiful. I couldn't believe how gorgeous it was because we went from Australia to New Zealand, and it was like it was stunning. It was an amazing place. How do you have How often do you have to oil the hardened steel? So I would say the hardened steel depends how often I use it. If I use it like for any sort of testing, especially if I'm doing anything with like an human, like an analogy for a person, whether that be bone, femur, meat for cow, I use cow femurs, cow bones, ribs, and pork ribs and stuff like that. If I use those as well, then I instantly clean it right afterwards. I get home, I'll make sure I get all of it off because those will really mess it up. And if I'm doing something silly as well, like let's say with a watermelon, just for the fun of it, then I'll clean those as well because that'll just wreak havoc on it. But if I'm not doing anything crazy like that, then they usually tend to sit pretty well. Then these here, like the gauntlets and stuff like that, I'll probably do this like once a month with those, depending how frequently I use them. What do you think of me and a vegetarian? I like vegetarian. I don't know. Whatever you like, man. I don't care. You can eat whatever you desire. So these ones here as well, just to make sure you don't get any rust on them. And of course, they were a gift, so you take extra special care of your gift, of course. Best part in Star Wars, Wedge. Yes, okay, so, oh wait, how dare you? How dare you? Wedge is not a better pilot than Dash Rendar, my good sir. No way. So someone here is a Star Wars somewhat deep cut extended universe fan. If you guys don't know, the name Dash Rendar is actually not my name. Shocker, I know. That is a character from Shadows of the Empire with Prince Seizure, and so he is a pilot, a Corellian pilot like Han Solo, a more rugged Han Solo, and he's the best pilot, not Wedge Antilles. I will say that with confidence, good sir. All right. So my streams usually aren't very long as well. I know a lot of people do them for quite a while, but I usually just have a task in mind and go Death Star's tech without using the Force. That is true. That is true. But still, Dash Rendar was able to escape and, fool everyone into thinking he had died, and he went and lived off quietly with like Lobo. Was that it? Was that the name of it? And you can see here, if you guys missed that, these were the gauntlets. And when I first got these, I did a test with them with the heavy warbow. This was with 160-pound warbows. So these are 1 millimeter hardened steel. So 1 millimeter is relatively thick as far as for plate goes. You can get like the helmets are usually 2 millimeters, so they're a little bit thicker. But you can see that there's probably a little puncture right there. So that arrow was able to punch in probably about, a few centimeters into it. But if he had mail underneath there, he would have been just fine as well. And the other thing that was really cool is we also did that test, if you saw, with Tequitum when he was wearing the plate armor, and I had the 130-pound bow along with the blunted or rounded tips, just to kind of test and see how well he could handle those impacts. And it was impressive to see, like when it hit a heavy spot where there was no flex in the plates, like where it hit the chest piece or anything, he was able to manage those well. But when it hit like the smaller parts, like the arm, or when it hit his hand and actually broke the gauntlet, that was something that he definitely felt. But that was cool to me because I think a lot of people who have seen the Arrows versus Armor, let's say from either Todd's Workshop or any of the little stuff that I've done when I've done helmet shots, it's like, okay, the impact force is going to be enough to concuss someone or knock them out or anything. So it really was not enough to put him down or obstruct him dramatically, honestly. And so those are things that are fun to do, and that was just a crazy experience to go out to Germany and fight with him and do that as well. So those were definitely my best YouTube memories so far of the year. So let's see, and someone mentioned the Thrawn trilogy is the best, Heir to the Empire and everything like that. So it is definitely going to be one. Thrawn is the Heir to the Empire trilogy is by far one of the best things in the Star Wars expanded universe as well. So it's gauntlet number 2, looking nice and polished. So that's a good one right there. And so these are super awesome. They articulate well, they move well. They fit the hand well and everything like that. So what is your preferred bowstring wax? I mean, beeswax, I think, is a good one. I usually use strings with like a Flemish twist. So they tend to be like 20 strands, because for anything that's going to be heavy like that, you need more than just a standard like 15 or 16 strands, so like 20 or 22 strands. And so they tend to wear out a lot quicker as well with the heavy bows also. So that's one thing I'm always looking for, is people who make good bowstrings also. Is Troll the best character in the crew? I think you're now, dude, that's amazing. So first of all, someone just said, I guided me a year ago to get a war bow, and so you're most welcome, my friend. I'm so happy that I was able to give you some insight as to where to get a good bow and everything. That's amazing. I hope you were very happy with your purchase as well. Is Troll the best character in the D&D crew? I think that he is the most fun, definitely. He is the unbridled, untamed, crazy character, and by far he's the most fun to write for and the most fun to do stuff as well. Hey, welcome. Sorry, yes. And for everyone who's joining in, who always misses my streams because they're so incredibly impromptu, I'm happy to have you guys. Sorry I don't plan them out in advance, but they all just kind of happen last minute. So if you made it over from Discord or from anything, I am happy you're here. And if you haven't been to my streams before, the big thing is I kind of treat them as a conversation with people. And so if you have any questions you want to ask, I have no agenda as to where I need this or want this to go. It's just a matter of talking with people and having fun nerding out, you know. So the Trello is the most fun, and I have a Halloween special, let's say, coming up for that. And so that's the one that I'm very excited about. I'm probably going to release that sometime close to Halloween as well. So that's going to be a fun one. Trello is going to have some fun in that also. And so, is that a knight's helmet? No, this is the arm protection, so the pauldron, and so the bicep right there as well. So that's what this is here. So it's got leather on it, so it's like a earlier, maybe like 12th century, so it's got hardened steel and leather on it as well to keep it together also. So it's a really, really cool one. Decretum actually made these for me as well. When I went to Germany, he built these up for me. And he had ones that were plate steel, and he asked me, like, do you want these ones or the other ones? I'm like, these just have such a cool aesthetic look to them. I love the way that it looks with the leather in addition to the hardened steel. So these are the ones that I was fortunate enough to be able to take home as well. So that was great. How many swords do I have at this point? I honestly am not sure. I've been incredibly lucky to get from a lot of different companies that have sent them to me, and I've been able to use those. So it's grown by quite a bit. But I also do tend to break them quite frequently as well. So it really is something that it's like a constant struggle to break and repair them. And there's a few that I don't break, which are the very expensive ones that I've bought over the years. But a lot of them, I'm just like, let's see how it holds up. You know, are you wiping the paper towel or are you using? Oh no, I'm using. So this is a polish. So I use this as like a sealer polish after I clean them. So this is having clean them, and then I wax them as well. So I use that to seal, and just making sure that if they get wet, it's not something I have to get to immediately right away. So I really like to try and just maintain them that way. So I clean them, get all the gunk off them and everything, and then I wax them as well with a steel type polish to make sure that I don't have that problem down the road as well. Practice or done? I don't know. Nimpo? No. The only thing. Do you know martial arts? So I don't know if you can see those little pictures up there behind me. I've done jiu-jitsu for a really long time. So I got to a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I wrestled for a super long time as well. And so I've done that. Most of my schooling and discipline training is in grappling, submission grappling, catch wrestling, stuff like that. And so those are the things that I tend to spend most time in as I'm older, 40 years old. I like those a lot more too, because I don't like getting punched in the face as much anymore. I boxed for a bit in college, just standard American boxing, never Thai boxing or anything like that. And so those are things that I really spent the most time on, was the grappling arts, the submission, because I like to do those as I'm aging, because you just don't take as much damage constantly as well. So I really enjoy that much, much more. So that's what I stick with as well, and that's the thing I tend to utilize the most in the combatives when I do that as well, any sort of type of stuff like that. So yeah, so if someone's spamming a bunch, just let me know. I see a few things here and there, but if it's disrupting the chat, then I will go ahead and just, I think, hide them from the channel. Is that what I can do? I think, yeah, I think they're gone. So anyways, yeah, so this is my first time doing vertical, and it is a different game out there. It's really weird. I don't think I'm ever gonna do this again, even though I feel like there's more people who are watching the stream and everything like that, but not worth the headache of it for sure. I'm not doing YouTube for silly fame. It's just making a fun community to hang out with. How much do the swords cost, or you gifted them? So the swords that I have, the most expensive sword I've ever purchased in my life is this one here. This is the Spatha from Albion. This one here was about like 800 bucks. I think it was. I bought this about 7 years ago. So this was like the most expensive sword I've ever purchased or have ever had. And there, the rest of them, most of the ones that I've gotten recently, I've been very fortunate to have been gifted them or have a company send them to me as well. So it's been wonderful in that way, because I haven't had to, like, the overhead is been minimal, let's say, right? It's been really great, because that's been able to help the channel grow a lot, because with YouTube, you know, it's not, you don't get a lot. You don't get a lot from the videos you make, especially if you're like in the views that I get. Like, even if you get a video that's like 20,000 views, it's maybe like 30 bucks. So that's not enough for a sword or anything. Usually it's just enough for some bones, for some bone testing and armor testing and stuff. So I've been very happy to be able to create better stuff because of the generosity of people that are out there that have been helping the channel in that way. So thank you, you know, to them, and just the cool community that's been here as well, that's been able to help me kind of create some amazingly fun stuff at a budget, you know, a budget cost. Someone asked earlier about my day job. It's incredibly boring. If you guys have followed along, you know I'm actually a real estate agent, so I do that full time with my wife. We've been fortunate enough to have some successes with that, so we have time to spend with our family and everything, and it's not like a daily 9-to-5 grind. But that's been great. This swing around an Albion sword, yeah, I know, right? Seriously, please you on the M8 Viking axe. Your day job is awesome, bro. Take it and play it hard. Yes. So this is the only one I have right now. So this is the axe that I have at this moment. It's a really good axe. It's done incredibly well, but it's shorter. You know, it's like a, you know, you could use two hands. You could potentially use it with one hand, but like I was saying, it's going to be very cool, because I have one guy who's a blacksmith, and he's starting out his company a little bit, and he's sending me a large two-handed Dane axe. It's probably going to be really close to the height of what I am, which is almost 6 foot. It's very big. It's got a head. It's like an M-shaped head. So if you know the Peterson scale, there's like different, the way they try to attack the timeline is by the hilt, and H hilt or something like that. And so it's like an M, so it's a larger, broader head of the axe as well. So that's going to be incredibly fun to test and see how that performs. So that's the thing I'm incredibly excited. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. So I've been really lucky to get some really cool stuff at a good cost and be able to test it without worry of it breaking all the time, because I have people who have been able to send me stuff or even replace it if it does break as well. So, you know, I'm looking for a custom axe, and drop the name. Okay, I will. I haven't got it yet, and he hasn't sent me the shop link yet, but as soon as that happens, I will post that, and I'll post all the stuff about it, because this is like a relatively new relationship with him, but I will 100% let you know when that is and try and bring as much traffic to him as possible, because he's got a whole slew. He sent me like some 3D print models he has for axe heads as well. So he's really trying to create a great arsenal, and he has some videos on YouTube, and hopefully I'll find it. Maybe I can put it in the description of the video for this. But he does it. He's very historically accurate, and I was even telling him like, hey, I hope that you don't mind Trollo, because he is like the ultimate cliche. He's like, nah, man, I get the joke. I get the joke. I'm like, okay, good. Just making sure, because he got into this because he was getting really frustrated with all the misrepresentation of Vikings or the Norse in media and everything. And I was like, just so you know, have you ever kicked someone square in the chest? I don't think so. No, I'm not much for kicking. Most of my striking was punching, and then on the ground and everything like that. No, I don't have throwing knives. That's one skill I've definitely never taken the time to learn. I know it's incredibly cool, but most all of my time was spent using the sling. And so that's the thing I really want to master well. And so that's where I kind of put all my skill points, let's call it, into the sling, but never into the throwing knives. So I know they're cool, and there's a lot of people that do it very well, but it's just not something I've ever really delved into myself personally, I would say. All right. I don't have too much more out here, so I probably got another 10 minutes doing this before I'm going to go inside and get ready for the night. So if anyone's got any more questions, please let me know. Okay. Do you plan on doing something more in the vein of D&D, e.g. more scripted type of content? Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the D&D videos. I have a playlist, D&D in real life, and so that's entirely scripted content. I don't know too. I think a lot of people who come to this maybe come from the shorts because of the way that the vertical streams work. But I have 3 long-form videos about the D&D, and that's my favorite thing to do. I just released one like a week or 2 ago, and so I have probably. Like, I'm probably going to finish, like, let's call it a season. I think it's going to be like a 6, 7 episode season. Oh, you've seen it there. Okay, amazing. Okay, cool. Just making sure. So, yes. So, I'm scripting out the one. I have one that I'm working on for a Halloween special, let's call it. And so, I have Justin. Justin, he actually made me the mini replicas of me, let's say. And so, he is going to be sending me a unique pumpkin enemy. And then I have Fox on here as well. He is sending me a custom character he meant, which is a D&D Lord, which is a pumpkin Lord, I mean. And so he sent me the character sheet and the stat sheet. So I'm going to make an encounter against like a pumpkin Lord, let's say. So that's going to be the next D&D video. And so that I'm going to start working on soonish. I really wanted to get the Roman fitness one done as soon as possible, because Cult of Athena was kind enough to send that to me a while ago. I'd just been traveling a lot and hadn't been able to do that. So, you know, what is your motivation to get jacked? Me and my older brother bullying. No, I don't know, man. I always tried to stay active, I guess you could say. I didn't really have a particular motivation. I think some of it just sprung from like my I guess I could say, and I don't know if I talk about this too much, but I always kind of have like all the stuff that I do, all the weapons training, let's call it, that I do is based upon me trying to see if I can master something that someone else in history was able to master. So with the sling, I was always like, you know, I read about the Balearic slingers, and I was like, I wonder if I could possibly teach myself to do that. And then with the bow, I remember reading about the English war bow in high school, talking about how they use 160-pound war bows and how taxing that was for the body. And I was like, I wonder if I could do that. So I guess that much of it comes from just trying to see if I can master what people did back in the day. And I guess fitness just kind of runs in line with that, where I try to stay as fit as I can because I want to try and see if I can do these things. You know, and see if I can craft a physique that allows me to do these type of weapons that people did back in the day. So, do I have any bolos? No, no. I've had a few people ask me about bolos actually. I've wanted to do those. I just never took the time to look into that. It's such a really cool, funky little weapon, you know. And so that's something that would be fun to try and learn and test. But I just don't know how viscerally entertaining it would be. Like that's why I tend to like the bigger weapons or the heavier duty type weapons because they make a much more fun cinematic thing. And if I don't have someone else out there with me, like because I do this all just by myself in a field, you really have to try and find something that's going to be entertaining to watch or entertaining to observe and also just super fun to do as well, you know. So that's it. Yeah, Adam. Yeah, yeah, he's the one right there, Adam Kaladin. He actually I've chatted with him a little bit in the past, not like seriously for collaborations or anything, but like we've like chatted a little bit, and so he does amazing stuff, and he is such a cool knife thrower, and he has such an amazing skill set that if you guys check him out or know of him, it's really impressive. It's just been crazy too, because like I remember back like even just like it seems like a year ago he was getting so many views and everything, and then it's like it's just dropped off dramatically, and I think that's kind of across the board for YouTube, which is a shame because he makes really amazing stuff and he's got an incredible set of skills that's really, from someone like me, to observe it, it's really impressive, you know? No, I've never practiced any sort of exotic martial art. Like I said, the only thing I do is wrestling, American wrestling, catch wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So it's all just very, you know, heavy duty, you know, head down type of stuff. I'm not a finesse fighter in any way, let's say, but I also like to do stuff that can be tested like at 100% at all times. So that's why I like wrestling, and that's why I like jiu-jitsu, is because it's like, if you got it, you got it, because you're going against a fully resisting opponent. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that is amazing to do, but if it's a fully resisting opponent, it doesn't work as well. So that's I never really delved into that. I'm assuming it's more along those lines, so I apologize if I'm making an incorrect assumption when I say that. I hope you had some good German. I did, yes. Yes, I had some good German beer. I had schnitzel. I had sausages with currywurst, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, currywurst is like ketchup with like curry powder on it or something like that. So I had some fun stuff like that, but the beers were very good as well. So I did have some good beers, some good fun, and a good trip with my wife over there. So we had an amazing time. It was a really cool country, and all the people there were super nice as well. So it was a great experience and a great journey to go out there, you know, fight a night and just have some good beers and some good fun as well. Hang out. I thank you for that. I don't really, in all honesty, like I don't really hang out with a lot of people in real life. I have a small group of people that I see, but most of my hanging out is with my 3 boys who are young, so that's where I spend most of the time as well. Have you ever talked to Lars Anderson? No, I've never talked to Lars Anderson. His archery is incredibly impressive. Like, it's a very different style than the style that I have and that I'm the most interested in. Like, for me, the person I've talked to that I'm most excited about, I don't know if you guys have seen, but it's going to be Joe Gibbs. And he's the one that's just incredibly skilled, incredibly strong. I remember back when I was way younger, he was like, the bow and the archery thing was all, like, in a way self-taught, I guess you could say. I had never taken any sort of formal classes, and still never have, but I remember watching a lot of his videos and just trying to mimic his style. So he was by far like the biggest inspiration on the actual success of what I did. And so when he chatted with me, he reached out to me once on Instagram, and I saw the name and I was like, Joe Gibbs. I was genuinely shocked that it was him. And so he didn't reach out to me. He's a man of very few words. Like, we're not best friends or anything like that. But it was like, that's where, and I was like, I have arrived at some point in my life where, you know, he said something to Joe Gibbs, talk to me, you know. That was the coolest thing. And then, you know, some people had asked too, when's the collab? Because on one of the videos, he's like, hey man, you need to come out for a shoot with us. And I was like, oh my gosh, that'd be the coolest thing ever. And so that's one thing that's in a bucket list down the road, you know, and that's one thing that I really want to do. For arrows, this is very. How did you get inspiration for arrows? So arrows was something that that was something I just looked up too, because that was a steep learning curve for me. Because when I first was using the bow, like I said, I did this all on my own. I really just practiced it, and I actually cracked a few bows because I was very unfamiliar with it. This was like years ago, maybe 10 years ago, because I was using underweighted arrows for the heavier bows once I got up past 100 pounds, because I couldn't find any arrows that were weighted properly because of the weight requirement. So you need like 7 to 15, I mean like 10 to 15 grains per pound of draw weight for an arrow. So that's where I really had to figure that out. And then I realized I kind of had to make my own, right? And so that's when I started the process of learning to make my own arrows, and kind of grow from there as well, because that was something that's incredibly important, and it's a big pain in the butt because it takes a long time per arrow. Obviously, if you're a great fletcher, you can make them very quickly. But I feel like there's every time you lose one or it breaks, it's painful to watch because you can just see you can just see that's so much time down the drain. Thank you for that. I appreciate you saying I have an awesome channel. If you guys are watching the live, post live, someone just said I have an awesome channel. So I'm saying thank you. So I'm not just speaking to myself as well. Are you a martial artist? Yeah, so sorry, this gets repeated, and if you're here for a long period of time, yeah, up behind me you can see there's some stuff there. I've done jiu-jitsu for a very long time, so those are some of my competitions when I was younger. Some local and some state competitions as well. I worked up to purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and then I wrestled and did submission grappling all the way, you know, for a long time as well. Raid and pillage, nope. No, I keep to myself. The only raiding pillages I've ever done is in D&D, and in there I'm usually, you know, a very straight up, straight and narrow character. So I'm kind of boring in that way. To care for your weapons. Yeah, I have 3 kids, and hopefully one day they can too, but not quite there yet. And that would be great to have one there. But honestly, it's a lot of fun because caring for the weapons and everything, it's like, I like to do it because one, it's just fun and kind of cathartic. And then secondly, it's just like, you know, it's like they're mine. So I like to care for them. I've been very, I've been very blessed to have these, and so it's a joy to do that because I like to try to care for the stuff that I guess you could say, you know, as well. Have you ever thought about writing or having a book transcribed with your D&D lore? Hey, honestly, I've kind of thought about that, writing a book with the D&D characters and the misadventures and everything, Grand. And so, who knows? I mean, maybe if I get enough episodes in, I might have enough to do that, because they are super fun. And I don't know, you know, it's not like, oh, mosquito. It's not like, it's not groundbreaking stuff, but it's fun and funny and lighthearted. So who knows? Possibly one day I might dive into that a little bit more. But right now, you know, I'm just better at testing weapons and using that as a way to try and test the weapons also. But Gron's looking nice and polished now. I've been neglecting him for a little bit. Gron's about 9 pounds. So 9 pounds of steel, Witch King of Angmars type stuff here. So yeah, there's no better way to know you. Yeah, I think so too. You know, welcome to the Gron channel. No, so someone just asked if I make my own stuff. No, I make my own arrows, and so I've said this a couple times, but I've never really been skilled at blacksmithing, but I'm decent at woodworking. So the arrows I make myself, but I do get the arrowheads from a company also, just because I like to buy them from there. Grand is the best. Yes, I think I need a secondary channel just named Grand. You know, just smashing things, just like a 10-hour video just looping on repeat. You know, that would be a funny joke channel, I feel like. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming up on 1 hour. I usually keep it at about that time. And I have cleaned all of my weapons, so they are ready to go for the next D&D video, which I'm going to be working on very soon. And so thank you all for tuning in. This was a different experience doing it vertical. There's a lot more random people jumping in saying crazy stuff, but regardless, always fun to hang out. And so I'll be working on the next videos as they come along. But before the D&D one, I'll probably have the axe, and then I'll also probably have the claymore as well. So those are probably the next thing that are coming also. So I appreciate everyone hanging out and enjoying the conversation. And I'll try to do one of these in another month. I don't know. Have a good night, you all. I will see you soon. And then I'll try to